Huzzah and good day, my wonderful students. Today we will be looking at the formation of governments. Now, government systems. The first one we're going to talk about is a unitary system. A unitary system is a system of government in which all of the major powers belong to the central government. And the national government or central government creates and has ultimate authority over the local and provincial governments. This exists in countries like Britain, Italy, and France. So in a case like this, which is different from the U.S., imagine if the U.S. government had the power to create new states at will and to abolish states inside of its own borders. If it decided that New York State was no longer a state. That's not legal in the United States because the United States does not have a unitary system. Instead, the United States has a federal system. Now, in a federal system, power is divided between the national government and the state or provincial governments. Each level of government has sovereignty, has power in some areas. This is an example of the United States. As you can see in this particular slide, we have various powers for the national government, different powers for the state governments, and then there are some powers that they share. Now, constitutions in government. Basic concept, you guys know this already. A constitution is a plan that provides rules for a government. Sets out the ideals that the people believe in, such as we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Secure the blessings of liberty is in there as well. This establishes the structure of the government and it defines the powers and duties. In our Constitution, it does so through Articles 1, 2, and 3 for establishing the government. Article 1 establishes the Congress, Article 2 establishes the presidency, and Article 3 of the Constitution establishes the Supreme Court. Now, the Constitution also provides the supreme law for a country. A constitutional government is a government that has the power of the government limited by a constitution, which is the case in the United States. Now, constitutions are incomplete guides. No constitution can spell out all the laws or the practices or customs that grow up around the document itself. For example, you might recall that you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater when there is none. Well, some people would say that's a violation of freedom of speech, but other people would say that this creates a danger, and the Supreme Court has ruled that it does create a danger. You can't do that. So even though the Constitution guarantees the freedom of speech, there are limitations on that, and that is a practice that has grown up around the Constitution itself as a result of situations that have happened. And the Constitution could not have spelled out every possible thing that could ever happen in history. That's the whole point behind Congress and laws to begin with. The Constitution also does not always reflect the actual practice of government in a country. China, for example, is a constitution which, of course, guarantees rights for its people, but China does not actually protect the rights of its people, as you remember from the Tiananmen Square massacre. Politics and government. Seeking government benefits. People participate in government when they realize it can affect them. There is a constant struggle over what benefits the government will provide and who will pay for those benefits. People use politics to try and maximize the benefits they can receive from the government and minimize the costs that they have to pay. People also try to turn their personal beliefs into public policy. That is all part of government. The importance of politics. Now, while some people may hate politics in general, the concept of politics is rather important. Through politics, conflicts in society between different groups and different people are resolved peacefully, through no violence. That's the point of it. Special interest. Now, the Constitution states that the government should promote the general welfare. The founders were worried that the new government would be divided by special interest groups. Now, in those cases, what they were thinking of was political parties. Governing today. There are major inequalities amongst the countries. Industrialized nations have high technology and high standards of living. There are newly industrialized nations which are working their way up towards industrialized status. And then there are developing nations. These are the poorest countries. They have high levels of disease and poverty. Now, there's also a growing interdependence amongst different countries. Nations rely on each other for different goods and services. And nations have created free trade zones in order to improve their economies. Examples were the North American Free Trade Association and the European Union. Technology has sped up travel, communication, and trade, making all of these much easier to do. And events in one nation can affect the rest of the world. For example, if there was a major problem in Iran or around the Persian Gulf, it would definitely affect the price of oil, which of course would affect many different nations around the world. Then there are also non-country international groups. There are political movements that have relations with many nations. There are multinational corporations like McDonald's that have offices in many countries and even business operations in many countries. And then there are other international organizations such as the Universal Postal Service and others that offer a variety of services to member nations. And that is the end of this slideshow.